What's up, y'all? It's your boy Trey, and we coming back at y'all with another episode of the 3829 podcast. I'm here with your boy Don again, but before we get into it, before I let y'all talk to him, make sure you hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. All right, I'll let y'all talk to Don right quick.
It's Don. I go by Odd One, man. Welcome back to the 3829 podcast. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. Like Cuz said, go ahead and hit that like, comment, subscribe button, man. And make sure y'all hit that notification bell so y'all get notified every time we drop, man. So let's go ahead and get into this episode, Cuz.
Why do you kind of let him get this deep into the rebuild, knowing that he has had these playoff woes?
And when they released him, came to the decision to release him, that I was totally mind blown by that.
I don't think that he necessarily
Yeah.
has to win the Finals MVP and win the championship, but I'm almost willing to guarantee he doesn't want to be the last man on the bench. You just paid way more for somebody that's going to pretty much be the equivalent
Or
and
maybe
are
even less.
big bag.
Well, hey, well deserved though. Shout out
No,
to
seriously.
SGA, man. Well deserved, well earned.
Definitely. Well,
Hey,
all right. So to go ahead and start it off, we finished off episode 4. I was speaking with Isaac. Shout out Isaac. And we were talking about the Knicks head coaching dilemmas. Uh, Now it looks like they may have found a resolution. I say may because as at the time of recording this, they have sent out an offer. I have not seen any sources saying that they have come to any agreements, but they have sent out an offer to Mike Brown, former coach of the Kings. Now, I'll go ahead and say my opinion on it. Me personally, I think that this is a good head coach for them. I feel like Tibbs, he is a good coach. Don't get me wrong. He's a great coach. One of
definitely.
one of the top that the league has ever seen. But at the same time, Tibbs does not have great playoff winning history. You get what I'm saying? He doesn't have a history of necessarily winning in the playoffs. He has a losing playoff record. Which was
That's a
one
fact.
thing I was thinking about last year personally. Not saying that a coach with a losing record can't win a championship, but going into it as stacked as the Knicks were, why they had even kind of, I understand he started, he was the coach at the beginning of this rebuild process, but why do you kind of let him get this deep into the rebuild knowing that he has had these playoff woes? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when you look at like a guy like Mike Brown, not only has he had regular season success, when you think about it, when he has had the ability to coach the full season, he's only missed the playoffs twice when he's coached the full season with the team. Now, there has been 2 times that he has been released early, and those 2 times, those teams did not go on to make the playoffs. But when he has coached the full season, he gets 9 times out of 10 or 9 times out of 11, he's going to get your team to the playoffs. You get what I'm saying? Uh,
Definitely.
and then
I
when he,
totally agree on that.
Mhm.
No, I was gonna say I totally agree on that. Especially seeing with how he took that Sacramento team and kind of turned that organization completely around. When they released him, came to the decision to release him, that I was totally mind blown by that because again, like you say, you've seen the position that Sacramento had been in for the past few years, and for him to come in and make the impact that he did with the team, of course, the players have to play a role, of course, but it starts with coaching, in my opinion. But yeah, for him to come in and turn that team around, turn that organization around the way he did, in the little time that he did, that speaks volumes for him itself. So I definitely like you said, nothing's finalized as far as right now at the time we're recording this, but I definitely like if that's the direction that the Knicks are headed in, I definitely like that for them.
No, definitely. And then, like I was going to say, Mike Brown, not only does he have a good track record of being able to get teams to the playoffs, he also has a winning playoff record. No, he hasn't won any championships yet. He has been to the finals before. He has made it to the Eastern Conference Finals a few times. He hasn't got any team over the hump quite yet. But I feel like one of the best teachers is failure. You get what I'm saying? So failing there when you make it back, you remember, okay, this is what I did here the first time. Yes, it was nearly 20 years ago the last time he made it to the finals. I'm not doubting that. The game is completely different game. But at the same token, you get to sit back, you get to rethink, okay, what did I not do here? What did I do? What could I have done differently? Because I'll be honest, no, it did not end up making the difference. But going into the finals, I thought the Pacers had an advantage. You may have seen, um, SGA, Chet, J Dub, and think, oh, they have the better lineup. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to the finals, I feel like it's going to come down to coaching. You get what I'm saying? And the players can only do so much. You get what I'm saying? And they definitely need help from the coach more than what they would need in a regular season. In a regular season, guys can play freely, kind of do all of that. When it gets down to the finals and we're playing playoff basketball, it's about the schemes at that point. What more than, it's stuff that you can't see when you're on the floor. You get what I'm saying? That you kind of have to be able to, take a step back and be able to see everything. You get what I'm saying? And
that's the opportunity. I feel like that's the opportunity for the coach to show like what actual game plan that they have, like what they really bring to the table.
No, exactly. Now, to piggyback off of, Mike Brown expected to go to the Knicks. They're also expected to get Jordan Clarkson, which is somebody that I would think would greatly impact their team. They do have, a great core, and with Cat, Brunson, OG, and then you have Michael, and then Josh Hart. But then if you are able to retain that core and then also bring in a guy like Jordan Clarkson, then you give yourself even more of what you didn't have last year. So you're not only are you upgrading your coach, but then you're also giving yourself more of a scoring punch off the bench. Now, we've seen that they had guys that can score off the bench, but it was clear that their previous coach did not trust those guys enough. I'm not saying that these guys weren't good enough. I'm not saying that they were unable, because they shown, that they could be dangerous when they were depended on. But the coach was not confident enough in them to consistently continue to go back to them.
And I like that. I like the requirement of Jordan Clarkson as well, because like you said, that would definitely be a good pickup for them coming off the bench. Somebody that can fill that void that when you do need to sit your starters, because let's hope that those starters, Jalen Brunson, Cat, Mikal Bridges, OG, they're not playing almost 48 minutes a game next season, and that they actually get a break. And like you say, a guy like
100%.
Jordan Clarkson would definitely, I definitely believe that he would be a good fit for that team to step in and fill a void for when the starters need a good rest. He's definitely shown that he's a good shooter, all around good player. Gets to the bucket. And another thing about him, he's a good defender as well. So I definitely like that acquirement for the Knicks, and hopefully they're able to land that. That would definitely be a good pickup for them.
No, definitely. But to go ahead and transition from the Knicks, we did see that not the Knicks, the Mavs have made some moves recently. So we've seen that they re-signed Dante Exum. They let Spencer Dinwiddie slip away in free agency. They let him go ahead and get to the Hornets, but then they acquired D'Angelo Russell, which I do like that pickup. I think that he's going to give them even more of a scoring punch off the bench than Spencer Dinwiddie was able to provide. And that's no knock to Spencer Dinwiddie. I just feel like, D'Lo is able to create for himself a little bit more. And then I also feel like he'll be able to give them a little bit more consistent playmaking off the bench as well. Because, like I said, no shade to Spencer Dinwiddie, but I feel like D'Angelo Russell has a little bit more gravity to his game as far as being able to pull a second defender than Spencer Dinwiddie is. Like I said, we've seen D'Angelo Russell be able to lead a team pretty much, not saying that it was only him on that team, but pretty much by himself to the playoffs. Not that they were able to make a deep run at all, but we've seen that D'Angelo Russell can be that guy. You get what I'm saying? And is he going to be that guy on the Mavericks? No. He's going to be a bench guy. He may play the starting one position while Kyrie's out. But I definitely think that he's going to be a great guy to have coming off the bench. And I think that, surrounding as many weapons as possible around, your core guys, let's not forget. Yes, we talk about Kyrie, AD, and Cooper, but you know they still have guys like Clay. You know what I'm saying? They still
PJ Washington,
exactly.
Najee Marshall, list goes on. You know, I can name these players. The Mavs, that's my go-to team on 2K. So, but I definitely, it was sad to see Spence go, but I definitely agree with you. As far as D'Lo, being a better person, being a better guard to push the pace, put the ball on the floor, move the ball around, create shots for others. One thing I will say I feel about D'Lo is he has to take smarter shots, smarter shot selection for him because
Hmm.
this past season, I feel he had more free will when he landed on the Nets, but when he was with the Lakers, he put up some pretty wild. He had a pretty wild shot selection. So I feel like that's one thing that he definitely needs to limit. But like I said, I agree, and I definitely feel like he's a good pickup for them, and definitely to hold the fence up while with Kyrie still being out until early next year. Hopefully, we that's what we're quoted as far as their return. Nothing final yet, but yeah, definitely like that pickup for the Mavericks.
No, definitely. I definitely feel like that's gonna be somebody to help them. But let's flip it. Instead of talking about a pickup, sad to say, but somebody was actually dropped from their team recently. And that's gonna be Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard was waived from the Bucks, which is really sad to see considering that he did, you know, have that Achilles injury last postseason. So he would
Yeah,
not be playing most likely in the 2025-26 season. And now without him having a team, unless he's signed, you know, this offseason, which I just don't. I don't believe that will be likely, you know, with the injury status, unless, you know, some team believes that they can, you know, try to get a bargain with the current condition. But I don't foresee him playing this next season, even if he was able to make a full recovery and be ready. So realistically, Dame is going to be 35 in 2 weeks, in less than 2 weeks. He's
yeah,
gonna most likely sit out all of next year. So by the time he touches a basketball floor again at an NBA level, he'll be 36 years old. You know what I'm saying? Now, yes,
possibly
Damian Lillard,
37.
exactly. Now, yes, Damian Lillard did play. I mean, was able to give you nearly 25 points a game, averaging 24.9 last season.
Yeah,
But realistically, like we said, he's going to be 36, 37 by the time he touches the NBA floor again. He'll be coming off a Achilles injury.
exactly.
And, you know, we have seen a bit of regression. The stats may not show it, but if you watching the film, we've seen a bit of regression from Damian Lillard. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
He's not
He's
the same.
definitely shown that he hasn't been injury prone his whole career, but I feel like these past couple years with the Bucks, injuries have played effect into how his time played out there. And then I feel like with the Bucks organization, like you said, it's sad to see him get waived, especially after that injury. But I feel like the Bucks organization probably feel like after pairing up him and Giannis, you expect big things and you don't get those results. So I kind of see where they're coming from as far as moving on from Dame. Sorry, sad to it had to come to that with under these conditions, but it's a business at the end of the day. So they like you said they decide to move on. There is a list of teams that could possibly acquire Dame. Like you say, he probably won't realistically he probably won't touch a basketball floor professionally up again until like the next year, year and a half, two maybe even.
Hmm.
But there are a list of teams that maybe require Dame as teams being like the Warriors, the Celtics, the Lakers, the Heat, and would be crazy, but for him to wind back up in Portland, but they're even on the list as well.
No, seriously.
But like you said, who's even who knows if anybody even shows interest in him with his condition right now, and knowing that he won't be able to contribute towards winning basketball anytime soon.
No, exactly. Now, with all those things considered, do you think that with him just being waived, do you think that Dame should look at retirement, or do you think it's a possibility that he does look at retirement?
I don't think I don't think he starts heading towards retirement yet. But one thing I will say, or I'll even ask you, is that do you think it is time for Dame to accept um, a lesser role, should I say?
Yes, that was one thing. That was going to be what I pivoted into. I was going to say, I don't
Okay.
think that Dame, I'm not going to say that he necessarily can't be a starting point guard anymore, but I don't think
Hmm.
that he'll be someone that you're depending on to give you like what you got from him this year, even, which was like a 25 a night. I don't think that we'll ever see another team depend on him for that again. Nothing against
Hmm.
Damian Lillard, but the severity of the
Right.
injury, the age, all of those things considered, I
Yeah.
feel like he'll probably the max we'll see a team really depend on him for is about 18 to 20 points a game. Now, I don't think the Dame looks at retirement yet. Now, depending on what he looks like, following the injury, there's a good possibility that he could retire the season he comes back if he doesn't play well, in my opinion. But in my personal opinion, Dame went to the Bucks to get a ring. You get what I'm saying? Dame still does not have his ring,
Exactly.
and that's what Dame is still wanting. He's not chasing it. He's not going to jump on the Warriors like Kevin Durant did. And I'm sorry, I'm really starting to sound like a Kevin Durant hater on the podcast. I'm not really a Kevin Durant hater. He just, he
It's
just
just the
fits.
real. It's just the reality of it.
No, for real. He just fits. But so he's not chasing like a Kevin Durant did, or let's throw a nicer one out there, a lighter one, or like a David West did running to the Warriors after, he left the Pacers later in his
Leaving the
career
Pacers.
trying to get that ring. But so Dame definitely still has the championship aspirations. And I think at this point in his
Definitely.
career, if he can give a team 15 and contribute, that much to a ring, I feel like as long as he's still able to give you about 15 a game, I feel like he'll still try to play in the league to try to help contribute to a winning team. I feel
Definitely.
like after he gets to that point where he can't, at least give you about 12 to 15 a game, I feel like then we won't see Damian Lillard in the league anymore. Because honestly, I don't
Yeah.
feel like he wants to sit on the end of the bench and win. I don't think that he necessarily
Yeah.
has to win the Finals MVP and win the championship, but I'm almost willing to guarantee he doesn't want to be the last man on the bench and win a championship.
Yeah. But that kind of injury that he just had, being this late in your career, realistically, how much longer do you have left?
No,
So,
exactly. But we can go ahead and transition from Dame, and we could talk about kind of what the Bucks kind of used the money that they made room for by releasing Dame for. They went ahead and they went ahead and picked up Miles Turner. Now, if you caught episode
before you
4,
start, cuz, hold on. I will say, Miles, you're a true pacer. Will forever be loved in every Pacer's heart, every Pacer fan's heart. But this past finals, this past postseason run, man,
every Pacer
yeah,
fan except one. Every Pacer fan
it was
except one, and it was way before this postseason. Way before this postseason.
to
Check out
say it's
episode
well
4 for the
overdue.
story time.
It's well overdue, but especially after this postseason, man, it's yeah, it was time to move on, man. You held it down 10 long years. It was time to move on from you, dog.
And I'll be honest, man. I will be 100% honest. Um,
Mhm.
it looks like the reason that the Bucks went after Turner is because it looks like they may be ready to move on from Brook Lopez. He still is on the market. Last time I checked earlier today, he was still on the market. There were talks of him going to the Lakers before Aiden had signed, but with the uncertainty with LeBron, he wasn't really interested, and that was kind of the last that we had heard of Brook Lopez. So if you're looking for Miles Turner to fill that Brook Lopez role, I'll be 100% honest. I don't think that he'll give you what you're looking for. And here's why I say that. Because I've watched a decent amount of Miles Turner play. And no, and
Say, well,
I'm
well,
not even going to slander. I'm not even going to slander him. I'm not even going to talk a whole bunch of trash about him. I'm just going to talk real game.
mhm,
We know that Giannis's game is to come from the wing, the right wing, the left wing, or the top of the key and get to that bucket. You get what I'm saying?
Either way, he's going straight at you.
Straight line drives to get to the bucket.
Exactly.
Turner's game, I know he can stretch the floor, but realistically, if you watched, Turner was not hitting shots late in the postseason, and I'm not saying that that's going, that could have been a bad stretch for him. But what I'm saying is Turner's main offensive priority or how he gets his points is not the 3-point line. Yes, he can possibly give you 3 in a game, possibly, maybe 4. But what he's going to do is he's going to stop at the free throw line and get his jumper. Most likely off of a pick and roll. With Giannis, being the primary ball handler, that's not going to work. You're not going to really get that production anymore. And that's just my honest opinion of it. And then 2, you're losing some rebounding that you got from Brook Lopez. And Brook Lopez was a hell of a rim protector. Like, yes, don't get me wrong, Miles Turner is a great rim protector as well. But if you're comparing apples to apples, you just paid way more for somebody that's going to pretty much be the equivalent.
Or maybe even less.
Exactly. Or maybe even a little bit less for you.
Because Miles, I would have to, I wouldn't say fully disagree, but to an extent on that rim protector, because that man he struggles getting rebounds at times.
Exactly.
And protecting the rim at times.
Exactly.
So
100%.
it's like you say, you might be getting the equivalent or maybe a little bit less than what you had with Brook Lopez.
100%.
Because the two bigs on the floor, like you say, Giannis is trying to push the ball up the floor, and Miles he mostly contributes the game off screens, that pick and roll, or just that pull up jumper. But if you got your your center bringing the ball up the floor, pushing the pace, how does that really play out?
No, 100%. But I mean, that's pretty much all I had to say about Turner. I still feel about how I feel, or I still feel how I felt during episode 4, and this was pre-trade, and I still feel the same way post-trade.
Yeah,
I was gonna apologize to you and your parents during round 2 when I seen you was hooping. Now, y'all owe me a damn apology. That's all I'm gonna say. I ain't even gonna tell the story again.
He had a good stretch right there, but after that,
this man didn't have a single good game against the Knicks, it felt like. And then all this man could do, this man had maybe good 2 to 3 minute stretches against the Thunder. He didn't have no good game, not even no good quarter.
He didn't have a whole good game, no. No facts. And that's something like, I'm not a diehard Pacers fan, kind of like you and your dad for sure. But I'm like, we made it that far. I'm gonna rep the hometown either way. But I'm like, man, for you to postseason finals, for you to get in there, you need to get in there and protect the rim. You need to. That's what, man. This today's day and age with the bigs, it's like it kind of makes me upset because you got a lot of them sitting out on the perimeter, putting up 5, 6 threes a game. When you see they not falling, stop shooting the damn ball.
No, exactly.
Get inside. Inside. Get down in the paint.
Exactly. And honestly, that's another thing though, is that like we've seen that when Turner doesn't have it going on from the outside, sometimes he will try to go get closer to the basket. But if Turner doesn't have it going from the outside, Turner's gonna have to come out the game for the Bucks. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He can't go get closer to the basket. Now he's getting in Giannis's way. Tyrese Haliburton. Exactly. Tyrese Haliburton, you can step out a little bit. You get what I'm saying? Turner can step out a little bit, and Tyrese can either get the layup or, kick it back out to him or do so much. Giannis doesn't, he's not going to play make like that. I'm not saying he can't, but that's not what his priorities are. Giannis' priorities are to dominate. You get what I'm saying?
We all know Giannis. It's Giannis' way.
Exactly. But I mean, that's pretty
Man,
much all I gotta say about Turner, man. I feel how I feel,
yeah.
man. You owe me an apology.
Best
That was foul.
best wishes in Milwaukee, man.
No, for real. Can't wait to beat y'all next year.
Man, facts.
But man, next thing I want to talk about was this SGA extension. Now, we've already
What? My boy got a big bag.
big bag.
Well, hey, well deserved though. Shout out
No,
to
seriously.
SGA, man. Well deserved, well earned.
Definitely. Well,
Hey, I know, cause I
I'm just all I'm gonna say is Scott Foster
love
added
his
at least
game,
20
man.
million in that. Scott Foster added at least
Love his
20.
game, man. But we gotta get the officiating right, man.
Listen,
Cause
all I'm gonna say is, bro, by the end of the
some
contract,
of them push offs, some of them
listen, by the end
some
of
of
the
them
contract,
flops,
this man gonna be
man.
down to 25 because the rule changes. That's all I'm gonna say. He gonna be down to 25 points a game because the rule changes.
Man, say no more
If they
averaging
don't
30 points
listen,
averaging 30-point season.
if they don't change some rules, the rating's gonna go down for real because that shit was ridiculous.
No, I'm telling you,
Listen,
it's
how much
insane.
of listen, what percentage of that contract is going to Scott Foster? That's what I need to know. Listen. All I know is I know they didn't, but the Thunder must have heard what we said in previous episodes about if they don't pay,
As
the
far as those
Rockets are on
contracts.
their way. If you don't pay,
And
the
you said
Rockets are on their way.
that's just one man.
That's just
That's just
one.
one man.
You forfeited at least one of the other ones. I just want you to know that.
They still got a couple.
Yeah.
So we're dying to see how that's gonna work out over there.
No, exactly. No, but realistically though, I think that this extension, obviously, while you definitely want to lock up, your go-to guy, your franchise guy, um,
Definitely keep him invested.
you definitely want to lock him up, but you're gonna be paying him 70,
Big time, as we see.
70 a year. You know what I'm saying? 70 a year for the next 4 years. You don't really have room to try to keep Chet, J Dub, and Dort, all of those guys on the roster. You get what I'm saying? You don't. And you will have to pay all of those guys in this time span. So now you have to make choices. And whoever you don't pay, the Rockets are on their way.
Because those
Simple as that.
players will want to get paid. As we mentioned one of the previous episodes, both Chet and J Dub have their rookie extensions approaching. So what you just been that big bag out the SGA, like you said, they're gonna have to figure something out over there. They're gonna have to put some numbers together and work something out, or somebody's gonna be getting shipped off
No,
more than
100%,
likely.
because those are definitely two guys that I think have the potential to at least make an all NBA third team, if not one of the higher teams. You know what I'm saying? They definitely have all
Oh, for
NBA
sure.
potential.
With this run that they just went on, I feel like all of those players. I mean, SGA is going to be where he's at
Of
regardless.
course.
SGA is going to be SGA. But I feel like with Chet and Jada, they're still progressing their game. But like I said, they're progressing. They're just want to keep going on the
Hmm.
upscale. So they're definitely going to want to get paid. And if it's not going to be in OKC, then whoever's paying.
It'll be
And like you
somewhere.
say,
You know what I'm saying?
The Rockets seem to pick up
If you don't
OKC's
pay,
baggage. So
the Rockets are on their way. Listen, and I'm gonna let you know now. I'm gonna let you know now. Thunder, if you're smart, this is just a word of advice. Pay J Dub first. Because realistically, the Rockets already have Shingun. So Chet doesn't make as much sense for them as J Dub does. But if you don't pay, the Rockets are on their way. I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt.
if you don't pay, somebody's coming. Either
No,
way.
we know who it is. If you don't pay, the Rockets are on their way. Speaking of the
Man,
Rockets,
but
though,
yeah,
speaking of the Rockets, shout out Clint Capella. He went back to the Rockets. He seen that,
man.
the Hawks, they got Porzingis. They had dang, what's that boy name? Onyeka Okongwu. He was like, man, it ain't
Oh
finna
yeah,
be no type of playing time for me out here. So he went back to the Rockets. Pretty much where we all probably came to know Clint Capella at was with the Rockets.
definitely.
Um, So
in that
yeah,
Harden
he's
era.
pretty much back home. What I would say for him is home. You get what I'm saying? So I'm excited to
Definitely.
see what he'll do back there. And then they also got Dorian Finney-Smith to sign with the Rockets, but KD made it very known he ain't taking no last second shots. His ball ain't in the hands. They season ain't
When the
going
game's
there.
on the line, I need
Mm-mm.
the ball in my hands.
He said, game on the line, fate of the world on the line.
You
Listen,
don't want the ball in a player like
nah,
you
nah.
don't want the ball in the hands of a player like Dorian
He,
Finley-Smith.
he
And no shade
says,
to him, but this is coming from your now teammate.
no,
So
this is coming for your guy. And
you
that's
need
why
to
I
chop it up with
told
him
them.
about that.
That's why I said no team needs to trade for KD. This type of stuff KD does. But no, shout out the Rockets though, because realistically, I I thought that the move that they made was bad, but the moves that they've done following it have shown that that they're clearly trying to set themselves up to be a contender. You
Definitely.
know, do I think that they are there yet? No, I don't. I think that I think they'll still be a hot behind teams, obviously like the Thunder. They're gonna be behind teams, I believe, like Dallas. I believe they'll be behind the Lakers if they can get, their personnel issues figured out. But even still,
Yeah.
even if they don't, like the personnel issues is just if LeBron's gonna play there or not. And I know this sounds
Right.
crazy. I know this sounds like crazy, but where we are in 2025, I think that the Lakers make the playoffs with or without LeBron. Like honestly, if LeBron just dropped off the team, like
Oh
literally
yeah,
just
for
dropped and
certain.
they didn't get nothing, the
Yeah,
Lakers still make the playoffs. You get what I'm saying?
definitely. But with the Rockets, I definitely agree. I definitely feel like you said, with the initial trade, we spoke on that already. But like you said, the moves following that trade, I definitely like it, and I definitely feel like they're definitely trying to be a contending team, and I definitely think that they won't be too far off from where they were last season with being number two in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you obviously still have OKC and even the moves that Dallas have made this off season and last season. But yeah, I don't think the Rockets will be too far off from where they were last season. So I'm interested to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, I see them falling probably about to the 4 or 5 seed. And only reason I say that, I know that they were the 2 seed last year. Main reason I say that is because when I feel like their squad previous had chemistry. You get what I'm saying? They've just shook up a lot. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to have
Yeah,
to get in at least, 10, 15, maybe 20 games just to get chemistry.
right.
And then, from that 20, now you got 62 games left. Who knows where you looking at from those first 20? Let's say you start off, just average, 10 and 10. Now,
Hmm.
and you know that in the West, you can't make it to the 4 or 5 seed winning 50%. So now you
You're not just
gotta
gonna cruise by.
exactly. So now you gotta win at least 60% of your games, which is something I see them doing. But I feel like they will kind of have a slow start, which is what we see from a lot of these teams that first, group up. Just depending on what their schedule looks like. Schedules haven't been released yet. Maybe, they have a weak schedule going into it. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I see them like taking a second to get their chemistry together, but I do see them probably being around that 4 or 5 seed. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning into another episode of the 3829 podcast. Before we get out of here, make sure y'all hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on those post notifications too. Before we get out of here, I'm gonna let y'all holler it down one more time.
All right, man. We appreciate y'all again for tuning in to the 3829 podcast, man. We about 6 episodes in now, man. So we appreciate y'all rocking and rolling with us, man. Just keep supporting. And as Cuz said, man, hit that like, comment, subscribe button, share, whatever you gotta do. And again, turn your post notifications on so you can get that notification every time we drop, man.